Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. The Buffalo Bills and Pittsburgh Steelers had their preseason game take place yesterday, so of course I am here today with my usual day later recap slash reaction pod. A lot to get to today, so without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, first, I want to give you the score. The Buffalo Bills beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 9-3. Unfortunately, they couldn't punch it into end zone at all, but Tyler Bass was 3 of 3 on his field goals, which is good. So that's how we got to 9 points, 369. And we held the Pittsburgh Steelers, all three defensive units, to just 3 points, whether it was Russell Wilson or Justin Fields or Kyle Allen in the fourth quarter, right there and there, which that didn't really matter. But to start off, I always like to give an adjective, something new I'm implementing this year, an adjective or word, whether it's a loss, a win, narrow, or otherwise, to describe the performance. Last week, unfortunately, the word I used to describe was sloppy. This week, I'm going to use the word fun. And you might think, Aiden, how was it fun if they only scored 3 field goals and only beat the Steelers 9-3? I say fun because the energy I felt like last night night game was at an all-time high. The operation was smoother. They didn't make nearly as many mistakes as they did last week, even though there was inclement weather really the whole game, and there was a downpour before the game and intermittent rain throughout. The vibes, if you will, were at an all-time high, even though they didn't score a touchdown. So it was just fun watching them, especially the starting defense. Those dudes balled out. Sacks, TFLs, near interceptions. I mean, they really, really got into it there. So, yeah, I mean, the word, even though it was just a narrow 9-3 win with 3 field goals, not a single preseason touchdown yet. Hopefully we fix that next week. It would be a nice confidence booster there for those bubble players that play in the third and final preseason game and what have you. Big confidence build if they get in the end zone, but I really, it was really fun to watch. The operation was just so much smoother. The farthest thing from sloppy like last week. Now, next, we're going to get into my stock report, probably the biggest thing we talk about in these reactions / recap pods. That's stock up, who really helped their case and stood out. Mixed, and kind of tween. I only have one for that because it's a preseason game. Usually it's stock up or stock down. Mixed, they did some good things, but then they did some so-so things. Stock down, they really disappointed or just didn't meet expectations whatsoever. So first, stock up. We got quite a bit here, thankfully. Running back Frank Gore Jr., he had 8 carries for 41 yards. All the running backs in this game had a good yards per carry average, whether it was Frank Gore Jr., who I just mentioned, had 8 carries for 41 yards. Darrington Evans, who had 7 carries for 37 yards. Ray Davis, who had 8 carries for 58 yards. They all balled out, if you will, and they all really showed push for this roster. Now, Frank Gore Jr. and Darrington Evans are probably battling for the practice squad. If I were to bet, we're going to cut both of them and hope they both clear waivers. I know for a fact Frank Gore Jr. will probably clear waivers. There's no way anyone claims him. The NFL kind of told us, they don't really value him highly, especially with his dad as a 49ers, scout or special advisor to the GM John Lynch or whatever. They could have drafted him for the legacy kid thing, but they didn't. So the NFL told us that they don't really value him. If they did, he would have been drafted. And then Darrington Evans kind of fizzled out the last 2 years in the NFL. No one really wanted him. So they both probably clear waivers. There's a small chance Darrington Evans gets claimed, but I don't think so. So both of them, I think, are prime practice squad cans. But usually it's pretty rare for the Bills specifically, at least, to keep 2 guys in the practice squad at once. Now, barring injury, that could change things. So I think Darrington Evans would be the one guy. But if they do sneak a second guy, then Darrington Evans and Frank Gore Jr. But I want to talk about Ray Davis in particular. Yes, Ty Johnson returned this game, which I'm actually surprised about because I thought that hamstring injury would knock him out the whole preseason and maybe in a rare case into 1 or 2 weeks in the regular season. I didn't think he would be placed on IR or anything, but maybe miss 1 or 2 regular season weeks. Week 1 against the Cardinals and then week 2 against the Dolphins, Miami Dolphins in Miami respectively. But we'll get to that later on, way later in a few weeks, a couple weeks when that happens. Ty Johnson only got 1 carry. It went for 5 or 6 yards. Who cares? But Ray Davis, he was running with power and his contact balance is really good. I just saw a stat this morning from some big media company out there. I forgot which one it was to give it credit. Sorry about that. But Ray Davis avoided 5 tackles, so he forced 5 missed tackles and had 40 yards after contact. So his 40 of his 18 yards came before contact, 40 of his 58 became after contact. That shows he keeps going. When he gets tackled initially, he keeps moving the pile. He keeps trudging along, keep moving his legs, stuff like that. And I keep saying this, Ray Davis, I thought he would be okay in pass protection, but he's holding up much better in pass protection than I thought. So I don't think we need to bring in a Latavius Murray or a Kareem Hunt for that pass protection anymore. I think Ray Davis can be that pass pro back, that pass protection guy out of the running back room. Because James Cook, he's not undersized, but he gets railed. Frank Gore Jr. severely undersized. Darrington Evans pretty undersized. So, and Ty Johnson just got back on G, and he's kind of below average at it as well. So Ray Davis, I have penciled in as that pass pro back. Last week, it was all about his receiving ability. In fact, his best catch was a beautiful sideline grab, streaking down the sideline for 15, 20 yards, but it was called back by a holding penalty. But Ray Davis, like, his pass protection is much better than I thought, and I love his vision. Now, people have suggested going into this game, especially after this game, it has not stopped that. Is this going to be RBC, a running back by committee, or at least a running back by tandem, duo, whatever you want to call it, however you term it and look at it? Maybe it's like a 1A, 1B situation with James Cook, 1A, and then like Ray Davis, 1B respectively, and then Ty Johnson is a clear backup with those top two splitting carries of Cook and Davis. I don't see it that way, but if James Cook continues to drop the ball like he did in training camp in those last 4 games, it felt like he dropped a touchdown in 4 games in a row, wide open touchdown. You got to improve that. I don't see it being a 1A, 1B situation, but as we move on, maybe it could be. I don't know if they want to give James Cook that volume last year. They gave him over 300 touches total. I think it was like 305 to 310, like between rushing and receiving and jet sweeps and all that, scrimmage touches. So I don't see it, but that I think Ray Davis is a clear RB2 right now, but I'll touch about that later on when I talk about checking in some key roster battles. And then I liked what I saw from Darrington Evans and Frank Gore Jr. as prime practice squad candidates. Next, tight end Zach Davidson. He only had 1 catch, but that 1 catch went for a big chunk gain from Mitchell Trubisky, 27 yards. For a tight end, he ran a corner route so crisp. The way he sold that corner route in his 1 catch was amazing. They snap the ball. He runs the corner route to literally the corner sideline. He runs the corner out, and he just found space and got open. He sold that corner route beautifully. I'll have to look at the All-22 and the replay of the game to get my full thoughts expanded on that. But from just the live broadcast and seeing clips of it after, everyone agrees, all the beat reporters and media, even some national media members too, Zach Davidson getting some love. He sold that corner out beautifully. Big chunk gain. I mean, he kind of dusted his defender and all that as thanks to his, like, I didn't know he had that route in him, guys, especially for a practice squad tight end who missed all of last year with a core muscle injury or something. Ribs, I don't remember. And then tight end Quentin Morris, 2 catches for 20 yards. The first, I laughed because the first catch was such a bad throw by Mitchell Trubisky, such a bad decision. Quentin Morris they were having a group meeting, a team meeting over there in the middle of the field. I say that jokingly because the Steelers literally had 4 guys surrounding Quentin Morris, and Mitchell Trubisky thinks it's no big deal and just fires it in there literally like a Steelers team meeting because there were 4 guys around him, and someone Quentin Morris like survives the ground, survives the 4 guys around him and brings him. And then the second one was just a routine catch, but like I thought that first catch was amazing. I don't know why Mitchell Trubisky thought to throw it in there, but he did, so I don't know. And then couple linebackers there. Linebacker Dorian Williams. He only had 1 registered tackle, but he was flying around more. Again, he still has pretty severe limitations in the pass coverage game. Apparently in practice, he's been working on that a lot, though. I'm looking at him to have this is asking a lot, but could he have a Terrell Bernard-esque leap if now the devastating news, unfortunately, Matt Milano being out till the whole season if he returns at all in December with a torn bicep, probably season-ending IR. more likely, unfortunately. So Dorian Williams has to step up. And with all the injuries, we mean the Bills, with all the injuries we have in the linebacker room right now, it's good to see that Dorian Williams is maybe improving even just a little bit in that pass coverage role. But, like, he flies around. Yeah, he missed a couple tackles. Like, one comes to mind where last night they had a running back halfback slip screen, there you go, to Jalen Warren. This was before he tweaked his hamstring, which isn't good. Those could linger, but for fantasy football purposes, we'll be monitoring that. Before he kind of got injured, Dorian Williams was playing too fast and he couldn't diagnose and process well. Good thing Rasul Douglas was there to stop him 2 or 3 yards short of the first down and make the Steelers punt. Cam Johnston of the Steelers punt, but Dorian Williams has to clean up that missed tackling and pass coverage, but he flies around. I love his energy, and he's such a good blitzer, like in disguise coverages or when he comes up as a stand-up linebacker on the line of scrimmage. I think his best ball, if you will, is played around the line of scrimmage where he can just get after the quarterback, but I want to see that pass coverage improve. And then Buffalo Joe, I'm in love with this guy now. Linebacker Joe Andreessen. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. He played his ass off last night. He played his ass off last night. He had 12 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. It was a great, great sight to see. I understand Foley is probably a good idea why they set Terrell Bernard. After getting your starting weak side superstar linebacker Matt Milano injured for the year, you didn't want to expose your middle linebacker to those trepidatious weather things, if you will. Sorry, my laptop is blowing up with text messages. I don't know. Sorry if that's annoying, but I'll try to fix that for next time. This was really, really great. Joe Andreessen said he learned Thursday, so 2 days before the game, 3 days ago now at the time of this recording, that he was going to start at middle linebacker for TB, Terrell Bernard. And like I said, he played his ass off last night. I mean, if he's not on this roster, like, I will riot. He has to be. Like, all these linebackers are injured, so he has to be on the squad. Here, let me turn my volume down very quickly here, because I know you guys with the constant text messages here. Okay, I turned it way lower. Sorry about that. I had to turn it down. So anyway, Joe Andreessen, Buffalo Joe, as Josh Allen said, they call him. What a game. What a freaking game. And it's not just because of the story. Like, he'll make the team because he was a legit dude last night. Like, I wasn't even sure if he was going to make the practice squad because he was a tryout player, then got signed after trying out Bills rookie mini camp. But I think he's in heavy consideration now to be on the Bills practice squad, or not practice squad, even the main 53-man roster, because of all the linebacker injuries. They kind of have to keep him now out of necessity, and just played his way onto the 53-man roster, I think. And then defensive end Greg Rousseau. I mean, what a freaking beast. He played 3 defensive series, and he had 4 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 TFLs, sack for loss, and the 3 QB hits. He almost had a 3rd sack, so he would have had 3.5 sacks, but Russell Wilson escaped with his low mobility. That's kind of embarrassing, but actually it's not embarrassing. It just is what it is. But I feel bad for Broderick Jones. 2nd year, high-end starting right tackle, left tackle, either way, whatever side, offensive tackle out of Georgia, and like Greg Rousseau just like manhandled them. I was embarrassed for Broderick Jones. Like, let's be brutally honest here. Like, it was an embarrassing sight to witness for Broderick Jones. I mean, he might have nightmares about Greg Rousseau, screaming down and literally pushing him to his ground. I mean, it was pathetic, guys. Not to be rude, but it was pathetic from Broderick Jones. They showed this one replay where Greg Rousseau didn't even do anything too severe. He just kind of pushed him back, and Broderick Jones didn't even try. I mean, it was a pathetic showing, to be in all honesty, from Broderick Jones. And then, so just 2.5 sacks in 3 defensive series, 3 drives, whatever you want to call it, is insane for Greg Rousseau. And then defensive end Cameron Klein, same stat lines last week, but 3 tackles, 1 TFL. This is a very, very, very sneaky candidate for the final 53-man roster. I know he's on the practice squad every single year, him and Ilianku, but either of them can make the 53-man roster, especially Cameron Klein, so that was very interesting. And then defensive end Javon Solomon. He didn't get sacked, but he had 3 tackles, 4 QB hits. And again, I continue to be impressed with his run defense. He had a couple run stops that was okay, Javon, I see you, he was known, I've been saying this forever, ever since he was drafted, even coming into the draft. He was known as having pretty severe run limitations, and he's a beast when he can just tee off on the quarterback and get after the quarterback, as he is Troy's all-time leading sack leader, and that's very impressive because ACU Manora went there. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. DeMarcus Ware, I do know, went there. So that's awesome. But like last week and this week, he's made a few really impressive run stops. So I've been very impressed. If he can combine run stopping, which he's already improved and impressed in that in particular, and just get after the quarterback and long lay downs and be a big special teams contributor like he was last night, I think he might have a bigger role than I was thinking for sure. This very interesting for Javon Selma. I think he's pretty much a lock to make this roster. I'll be honestly downright shocked if he's cut because you're not sneaking in through waivers. He's a draft pick, 5th-round draft pick out of Troy. He could have gotten the 4th round by all accounts too. So defensive tackle Ed Oliver. He had 3 tackles, half a sack combined with Greg Rousseau, and then 1 QB hit. Ed Oliver just continues to be a beast. There's going to be more in Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau's play specifically this season, especially with Terrell Bernard not playing last night, Jordan Williams having to step in, Joe Andreessen having to step in, and Matt Milano mainly being out for the season with a torn bicep. So Ed Oliver, very, very impressive. If he hasn't, I'm not going to call him a franchise cornerstone yet. I'm not going to call him an elite defensive tackle. Right now, I think he's a very high and great defensive tackle, but if he even improves, that's just insane. But if he even improves by a little bit last season or just replicates what he did last season, I'll call him a franchise cornerstone. I'll call him an elite defensive tackle because I want to see more than 1 year proof of concept because his first 4 years in the league, it was kind of like, he had moments, but he was kind of inconsistent. It wasn't a bust, but he was, for a number 9 overall pick, you expected much more. And then last year, in his 5th year in the league, he was awesome. So if he can replicate that or like, God forbid, heaven forbid, like, improving that, like beast, franchise cornerstone. And then corner Taron Johnson, he had 3 tackles. I could have sworn he had a tackle for loss, but they didn't credit him with that. Maybe he had like all 3 tackles or 1 or 2 yard gains. He had some good coverage too, which he was in when Russell Wilson was in. So the coverage he had forced Russell Wilson to look to another receiver across the field, other side of the field, whatever, and kind of floated in there incomplete. So Taron Johnson, I love his physicality. Sometimes he's too physical, but I love his physicality. He's a top 3 nickel core in the league. Like, he's right up there with Mike Hilton, Trent McDuffie, like Desmond King. Like, they're all right tied right there for the best slot corners league. And then corner Jamarcus Ingram, he had 9 tackles. Other than Christian Benford, I've never seen a more physical corner on this team. He rarely draws penalties because of it either. He had multiple very physical special teams hits and tackles, respectively, last night. He had multiple good pass coverage snaps. He had multiple good fits in the run game. I think Jamarcus Ingram, your top 3 outside corners are obviously Rasul Douglas, no particular order, but Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford as your 2 starters, and then Kyler Elam, and then Jamarcus Ingram, with your 2 slots being Taron Johnson, Daquan Hardy. But Jamarcus Ingram will really, really impress, and he's a huge special teams contributor. He can play in the slot / nickel. He can play on the outside. He's kind of like a Cam Lewis, a versatile chess piece in your defense. He can play everywhere but safety. But speaking of Daquan Hardy, Day was really good. He had 3 tackles and 2 pass deflections, PBUs, whatever. 3 tackles and 2 pass deflections. Really, really energetic player. I thought his decision making in the kicks, his punt return was very last week. It was very questionable when he caught it at the 5-yard line, but I thought he was much more fluent in that this week and much more coached up on that this week. But like, him playing outside corner is a true thing, and he's pretty undersized for a corner, so I thought he was strictly a slot man or zone slot / nickel corner. Maybe the backup to Taron Johnson and Cam Lewis if they want to go that route. Maybe the 3rd string slot corner. If anything happens, those top 2, but if he can be slot corner, outside corner, which I was not expecting when he was drafted, that's awesome. So, and I'll talk about the kick and punt return role later. Kicker Tyler Bass, like I said, 369, 9-3 Bills win, and that was thanks to his 3-3 field goals. All 3 field goals were made inside the 40, but I feel like he missed a ton of field goals last year inside the 40. So not too big of field goals, but for him, it's big. Like, his perfect preseason continues. Like, we shouldn't have to be monitoring that in a preseason, but we do, unfortunately. Punter Sam Martin, I thought he had one. I don't think he had like any outstanding booming punts, but no shanks either. Like, he had 2 or 3 shanks last week, multiple shanks last week, and I don't think it was because of the wind. It's a kind of an excuse. Steve Steve Tasker was mentioning it last week. So I think no outstanding punts, but really great punts. And then special teams coordinator Matthew Smiley. They're rarely on penalties. I only saw 1 or 2 team special penalties by Kingsley Jonathan, who we'll talk about in a minute here, and some other player. I think it was like Cameron Klein, maybe. But last week there were multiple special teams penalties, but there were no punting issues this week. There were no kicking issues this week. There were no kick and punt coverage issues this week. And most importantly, there were very, very, very minimal amount, only 1 or 2 to be specific, of special teams penalties. So his job is safe, I guess, for this year. And then all 3 offensive line units. I thought all 3 offensive line units were a mess this week. Whether pass blocking, like they held up fine in pass blocking. Mitch Trubisky just had a very slow trigger and threw an interception they shouldn't have thrown. So you can't really blame them for the 2 sacks that Mitchell Trubisky took, especially for the second one. I'll get to that when I talk about Trubisky specifically, though. Spoiler alert, he's in stock down. Duh. Just like last week, unfortunately. He's so gross. But anyway, starting offensive line, phenomenal. Backup offensive line, phenomenal. Third string offensive line, phenomenal. A few guys didn't really stand out that I wanted to, but as a cohesive unit, all 3 were great. And then Mix, this is a player that did some good things, but then did some bad things. They were like, so. Defensive end, Kingsley Jonathan, he had a special teams penalty, so that's kind of why I put him in the mix. But he, on actual defense, he had 3 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, TFL, and 2 QB hits. So we got after the quarterback decent enough. There were some plays we got after the quarterback really well, and then there were some plays where he just got literally blocked out by an offensive lineman when he was going against Justin Fields. And there were a couple of plays, one in particular where Justin Fields was able to scramble around, break, contain against him, and throw for a big chunk play first down to like Des Fitzpatrick or something. I think it was specifically named there. But there was also a few where I just thought Kingsley Jonathan looked kind of unathletic and lacked that pass rush juice. He's not very athletic to begin with, but he lacked a lot of pass rush juice on multiple snaps. So he had trouble getting after the quarterback sometimes, but he did have a sack, so I won't put him in stock down. He did some good things and bad things. Stock down. That's Mitchell Trubisky. Welcome back. He was just so gross to watch. 9 of 13, 69%, 86 yards, and 1 interception. That interception, like, he overthrew. I think he was targeting Keon Coleman or Matt Collins, one of those huge targets. Like, I know you have to throw it high because they're 6'3". They're both 6'4", Coleman and Collins respectively, but like, Jesus. I mean, he was out there just like, come on. Mitchell Trubisky, he was so uninspiring to watch. He's so underwhelming to watch. He's so gross to watch. Any bad adjective you can think of and come up with that fits Mitchell Trubisky's performance in the first 2 preseason games. I had absolutely no clue why the Bills, Brandon B. and Sean McDermott were so eager to bring him back and on a 2-year deal nonetheless. But now he's injured with a knee injury. We'll talk about the implications of that later on. But come on, this is just so dreadful. His mechanics are so bad. His trigger is so slow. His arm movement takes forever. It's almost like he has to confirm 2 times more and double confirm 2 times that, and double check that the guys are open when they're open. They're literally open 3 seconds ahead of time when he's about to throw it. And that second sack he took, yes, Deion Dawkins kind of quote unquote got beat for the sack, but I'm literally screaming at my TV, throw the damn ball away. He had years back there, he could make a cup of coffee, but that offensive line was blocking for him, and he literally walks right into a sack from Nick Herbig, who's a flashy young player out of Wisconsin going in the second year with the Steelers, but that should never happen. The offensive line blocked phenomenally for you, and all you're doing is sitting there with your slow ass and moving back there and twiddling your thumbs back there and not knowing what's going on. And now he's injured, so I can't knock him too much, but I can because he's just so uninspiring. No clue why they were so eager to bring him back. I would have said, sorry, you're staying on the couch. We're not going to sign you. And then stock down wide receivers, KJ. There are 3 wide receivers. KJ Hamler, he had 1 catch for 9 yards. Yeah, big deal. Tyrell Shavers, 1 catch for 3 yards. And then Justin Shorter, who had 1 target, no catches. KJ Hamler didn't get any punt and kick return opportunities, probably because of the muff last week. That was concerning. It was Andy Isabella. And Daquan Hardy. So, yeah. And then Tyrell Shavers, I just want him to get more opportunity. 1 catch for 3 yards. It was Mitchell Trubisky and Ben DiNucci throwing in the ball, but he only got 2 targets. He came down with 1 of them. or maybe even only got one target and he was 1 of 1 on the catches. And then Justin Shorter, he got an end zone target. And like, dude, you're 6'4", you're athletic, you're supposed to be tall and athletic, and that's supposed to be your specialty, red zone offense, and you didn't even try. Like, Mitchell Trubisky threw a pretty good ball for him in the end zone. Yeah, it could have been a little better. That was his only good throw of the night, I feel like. But, like, Justin Shorter didn't even try to fight back for the ball or try to go up and get it. I mean, it was pretty pathetic. So these 3 wide receivers, Hamler, Shavers, and Shorter specifically, didn't do anything. And then penalties, still got to clean those up. 8 for 50 yards. I think 2 of them were special teams penalties. I don't think they had any penalties on defense. I think 2 were on special teams, and then 6 and 8 were, they're frustrating because they're so avoidable. They were holds on big Ray Davis runs, or they were or any running back for the minute. There were holding calls on the second and third team offensive line. There were false starts on the second and third team offensive line. Spencer Brown even had one, and then the first team offensive line. That's kind of been his issue with this whole career, but they were so avoidable, and that's the one that annoys me the most. Like, ticky-tack ones like holding. I don't mean ticky-tack like it was a bad call by the refs. I mean ticky-tack like it can be fixed, holding and false starts and respectively. It's just not very good. Big slice of the game award. There is only one guy that embodies this award. Big slice of the game through and through. Linebacker Joe Andreessen. I'll go over it again. 12 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. He almost had a sack, but he had multiple pressures on the night. He didn't ever get his hands to the quarterback for any QB hits, but he had multiple pressures. Him and Dorian Williams combined for a few pressures. He had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields looking the other way. The most impressive tackle of the night were Joe Andreessen, who's not known as this high-end athlete guy, and Justin Fields, who, I'm not being hyperbolic here, is probably one of the most athletic QBs we've ever seen, and arm strength out the wazoo. Justin Fields breaks contain and takes off, and Joe Andreessen runs him down and forces a punt, and he makes an open field tackle on Justin Fields. I guess that's where we are right now. Joe Andreessen making an open field tackle against Justin Fields? Sure, go on out there. That was the most impressive thing in the night. I don't know how he doesn't make the team, especially with all the injuries that we'll get to with the injury report in a minute at the position. So Joe Andreessen, like, shout it from the rooftops, you are making this team. Burnt slice of the game award. Such a disappointing player. Mitchell Trubisky, he's injured now with a knee injury, so I guess that it doesn't matter anymore. But, like, he just stunk up the place last night. Uninspiring, like, gross, disgusting. Like, I already mentioned it earlier when I big stock down for him, but, like, I mean, come on, you gotta get a better situation than this. And then did not play due to injury. This was already announced before the game by Sean McDermott. Oh, and real quick, by Sean McDermott. I'm glad that he didn't play Josh Allen. He decided to try Mitchell Trubisky, bought out there, but he didn't play Josh Allen and Ben DiNucci in the second half, I guess. He didn't play Josh Allen because it was a downpour before the game. It was all slippery and stuff. Basically like a slip and slide out there. Good thing they had a tarp, though. And the rain was intermittent throughout the night, so why expose Josh to that? Good idea. Did not play due to injury. This is already determined for the game. Offensive line, Travis Clayton, who can play guard and tackle. New National Patrick Brigham. Defense line, Casey Tuhal. I don't know. He's not making the roster. I view Javon Solomon and Kingsley Jonathan, even Cameron Klein, way ahead of him. And then linebackers, Balen Spector and Nicholas Morrow. Nicholas Morrow, I think, still has a pretty good chance to make this roster. Balen Spector, like, this might be a hot take. I'm willing to take the flyer and see what Joe Andreessen turns into and trying to make it work with Balen freaking Spector. Balen Spector can't even wake up in the morning without getting injured. He can't even walk to the grocery store without getting injured. This is his third year in the league, and he's always, has been swear, he's always freaking injured, guys. Last year, he's placed an IR on cutdown day to open up a roster spot for Reed Ferguson, the whole wait out in the parking lot, blah, blah, blah. Well, we placed someone being Balen Spector on IR, probably going to do that again this year. The guy's always injured. He has a hamstring injury, placed the IR for cutdown day, misses 4 games, comes back, re-aggravates the hamstring, and then is placed on IR again and out for the rest of the season. He's placed on IR 2 different times this year. He was placed on IR at one point in his rookie year too. Move on. I'm done. If your best ability is your availability, that's a complete failure for Balen Spector because he's never available. I mean, I want to see what Joe Andreessen can turn into as the UDFA trial guy, then sign, as opposed to trying to make it work with Balen Spector's injured butt all the time, injured you-know-what all the time. And then the Nicholas Morrow, like, this is concerning, though, like, because the only healthy linebackers right now are Terrell Bernard, which I agree with him not playing. Dorian, especially after Matt Milano, devastating news. Terrell Bernard, let's see here. Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, Deion Jones, Eddie Lufocio. Thank God he came back, but he didn't practice since like the first week of training camp until yesterday when he played. Didn't really show much. And then Nicholas Morrow and Joe Andreessen. Balen Spector, injured. Just experiment's over. I just explained it. Move on. Can't keep his you-know-what on the field to save his life. And then Nicholas Morrow is also injured. I still think he has a shot to make the team now. Balen Spector. For some reason, I feel like they have this. This was a thing with Dane Jackson, too. They have this. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, I feel like, have this unconditional love for Balen Spector. And, like, I don't understand why in the least. Like, they keep trying to make it work for them. They keep trying to bring him back. They don't move on. They keep trying over and over. Guys, just move on. In year 3, it's not going to work. Give Joe Andreessen a shot. Who gives a crap about Balen Spector anymore? I'm sorry to sound harsh, but I don't care anymore. And the 3 safeties. Safety, Cole Bishop. He's been out this whole time. Safety, Mike Edwards. Just place him on IR already. He'll miss 4 games. And then safety, DeMar Hamlin. That, of course, and safety injured. That's new. He suffered an undisclosed injury in Orchard Park. Not Orchard Park. In Latrobe. I think it's not Latrobe. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So with joint practice and Bills Steelers joint practice 3 days ago now, 2 days before the game yesterday, Thursday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, obviously joint practices. I guess he suffered an undisclosed injury. So that's great. Safety room looking real good, guys. And then injuries suffered in game. Unfortunately, there's a lot here to be specific. 5, MVS suffered a neck injury, did not return. I don't want to say I don't care about an injury and care about a guy that got injured, but like I don't, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think hot take, but I had Tyler Shavers making it over him. But if we're gonna have Tyler Shavers make it over him, he's got to step up. Justin Shorter, KJ Hamler, even Andy Isabella, someone's got to freaking step up for those last 2 couple of depth spots. At wide receiver, QB Mitchell Trubisky suffered a knee injury, did not return. They determined that knee injury pretty quick, which unfortunately probably means a torn ACL. This backup QB situation is so bad. I don't care if Mitchell Trubisky got injured or not. Ben DiNucci, practice squad guy. And if you bring in Matt Barkley, I view that, of course, they're going to bring in Matt Barkley. They love him. Why not? How long is he going to come back to Buffalo for? But anyway, they're going to bring in Matt Barkley. But I view that as competition for Ben DiNucci for the practice squad QB and scout team QB, not the backup QB. Bring in Ryan Tannehill. He can be the backup QB. I'm someone that personally thinks Ryan Tannehill is, after he got placed by Will Levis, Ryan Tannehill's in Tennessee with the Titans last year. In years past, Ryan Tannehill's starting years are well over in this league in the NFL, but like as a backup, he's fine. Like he's more serviceable than freaking Mitch Trubisky. Excuse me. Defensive tackle Austin Johnson suffered a calf injury, did not return. I was starting to get really excited with the defensive tackle depth, and then this happens. Tight end Quentin Morris suffered a shoulder injury, did not return. Maybe next week, if Quentin Morris doesn't play, it sounds like he might not, then Zach Davidson can ball out and show out for that tight end 3 job. And then defenseman Javon Solomon, of course, suffered a calf injury, did not return. Why are these injuries always on defense? They all compound at the one position. The defensive line is all injured, and the linebacker room is all injured. They all compound at the same time at all these same positions, and I had enough of it. Check-in and safety room is just a mess. Checking on key roster battles. Ty Johnson, now that he's back, can make a very late push to be RB2. But in my mind, it's Ray Davis right now for all the things he's showcased. And Ty Johnson come back too late. Nobody's stepping up in this battle for the couple 5th or 6th wide receiver depth spots, or maybe if they just keep 5. Like, okay, now that MVS is injured, like he might be placed on IR and then we hit the injury settlement or something with a neck, pretty severe neck injury. He was down for a good solid 2 minutes. Then he went to the Blue Medical tent. He said he was fine. He looked like he was fine, but then clear discomfort. His body just got twisted up weird after a catch. But Tyrell Shavers, Justin Shorter, Andy Isabella, KJ Hamler, it's not like Tyrell Shavers mainly is doing anything like too drastic with drops. I guess he did have 1 drop last week, but that was a high throw from Mitchell Trubisky we talked about. He's just not really kind of improving and doing anything much and capitalizing off of a really strong off of a really strong training camp this year for the few weeks ago. And no one else is really doing anything. Like maybe Damiere Byrd steps in, maybe Deion Kane steps in. I highly doubt it, but I'd probably put Damiere Byrd in the 5th receiver spot and then Tyrell Shavers in the 6th if they go that this time. Offensive line depth, Leo Collins, Richard Grodge, Tylen Grable. All 3 of those guys are fighting for 1, maybe 2 spots. look, keep 9, 10 at the most if they want to go heavy there for that jumbo tight end role. Maybe it's Alec Anderson, maybe it is La'el Collins if he's not Dust at this point. Garage, Grable, Collins, who's a full-time guard now, which, okay, fine. No one really stood out there, and Travis Clayton's injured. Defensive line seems to be locked down for Javon Solomon right now, but if they do go heavy with the 6th defensive end, maybe you take away an offensive lineman, or you take away a 6th wide receiver now that MVS is injured and no one's stepping up. Maybe you take away a defensive tackle. Maybe you go light in another position and go heavy at defensive end, the pass rusher spot. I think Javon Solomon's locked in that 5th spot. And then if they keep 6, which they very well could go heavy there, is it Cameron Klein or Kingsley Jonathan? They've both flashed. I think Kingsley Jonathan has had a few more flashes here and there than Cameron Klein, but don't sleep on Cameron Klein. I'm not including Casey Drewell. He was really disappointing. I didn't like the signing when it happened. He's just kind of a nobody. He's a veteran that's always stuck around, but he'll be claimed off waivers, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And then DeMar Hamlin, he was going to be the locked-up second string safety opposite Taylor Rapp. I firmly believe that. But even he's injured too now. So this is just a lovely situation. We got it. Safety. Mike Edwards probably heading to IR. Cole Bishop, close to returning, I guess, but hasn't returned. DeMar Hamlin, this close to the season, going in the 3rd preseason game and coming off the 2nd one, respectively, the week in between. I don't know what to think. And like Kareem Jackson, Cam Lewis, Dee Delaney, Terrell Bridges, none of that inspires confidence in you. Like, I know Cam was versatile, but like, I don't know. This is a really bad situation. And then let's see, it's looking like Daquan Hardy will be the man kick and punt returner. His decision making was much better than last week. Again, last week he forgot at 5. Who the hell does that? But this week he had one like that. Then he had a few nice returns and a few nice good decisions. So anyways, guys, unfortunately, we left with a ton of injuries this season. Not this season. Well, this upcoming season with the Matt Milano thing, but this preseason game. So hopefully, I think we'll get an update on that Monday, maybe Tuesday, maybe even or Tuesday, maybe even both. I don't know. From Sean McDermott, One Bills Drive, when he speaks to the media, and hopefully we have a lot of clarifications. If I need to come back on this for any other news, please, hopefully it's not devastating, guys, then I will jump on and give you guys a podcast. Anyways, that was, I know the Bills named 193, but that was fun to watch, especially the starting defense. I mean, Greg Rousseau and then Buffalo Joe, as Josh Allen called him. I guess they call him it. I don't know. Joe Andreessen really, really bought it. I mean, he had the night of his life. Think about this story. He goes from Lancaster, which is literally down the hop, skip, and a jump down the road from Highmark Stadium. He goes from Lancaster to Bryant University, which FCS college, so football. He goes from Lancaster to Bryant to UB to the Bills after a tryout and rookie minicamp. I mean, that's just one hell of a cool story. I'm really pulling for him, and he's got to make it a necessity, but he's not just going to make it because of necessity. They're all injured. Yeah, okay, we'll give you a roster spot because it's a cool story. No, he played I'll say again, he played his ass off last night, and he earned that roster spot through and through. 12 tackles, 2 TFLs. That's why I gave him a big slice of the game award. Anyway, all that's over. Where you guys can find me socials in that. You can follow me personally on Twitter at A1Gunner13. And you can, of course, follow the show on Twitter at Around Slice. You can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. And you can support me on Patreon if you like my extra exclusive bonus content, want to hear more thoughts and stuff not found in this podcast, or anywhere else, really. You guys get that as patrons. That's what you'll be called as patrons, for just $3 a month. Again, sign up at patreon.com/runtheslice. Any support is appreciated. Or if not, just listening or watching this podcast wherever you consume it is support enough. I greatly appreciate it from you guys. And help me get to 30 subscribers by the time the Bills kick off week 1 at 1 p.m. in Orchard Park against the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday, September 8th. And lastly, I know this is a lot, but lastly, before we get out of here, this is a really cool project. I have started a second YouTube channel to talk about movies and TV shows, pop culture stuff, nerdy stuff that I love, like video games and all that, with Around the Slice Entertainment. And it's really cool. My younger brother and I, my little brother and I, are starting a podcast, the Around the Slice Entertainment podcast, where we'll be covering movie news and stuff. I think our first episode is going to be like Pixar related, the movie studio Pixar related, about a specific Pixar related. I can't talk today, about a specific movie. I'll put that link to that second channel in the description below. I can't wait to launch that. So yeah, go check that out. And this was a really fun preseason game. Hopefully next week they can round it out and some more depth receivers and depth players step up to push for a roster spot. And who knows, maybe something I keep an eye on just before I get out of here. Maybe they do keep 4 tight ends. They go light at receiver or defense line or another position. And Quentin Morris and Zach Davidson both make it as huge special teams contributors. So thank you for consuming wherever you consume in any podcast, your favorite podcast app. I will see you. Hopefully there's no breaking news. So I'll see you in a few days from now for the final preseason game preview against the Panthers. It is. I'll have to double check. But anyway, appreciate you guys. See you in the next one. Bye.